you have enough money to buy a property? That's probably what you're wondering right now.
It's very important that we budget right, not only looking at it from the financial side, also preparing ourselves for credit, because we know for sure that all of these factors have a huge contribution towards owning that house.
In this video, we'll be giving you 3 examples that you can actually check out just to budget to buy your property.
Invest like a pro with Nongwal. So looking at the 3 costs that will come when we are buying this property, we're looking at paying your attorneys. So number 1, there's your transfer attorney, right? Your transfer attorney is responsible for making sure that the property is registered under your name. So from the previous owners to your name as the buyer. Then number 2, we will be looking at deposit. That they are always thinking that they will get 100%.
Sometimes even 105%.
Even 105%. However, how we roll is that I do not want to lose out on a deal just because the bank said we're not going to be able to give you 100% or 105%. We are going to be giving you 90%. So we always work on worst case scenario, which is 90%. Then number 3 will then be the renovation cost that we need to consider when we buy the property.
The last thing that you want to do is lose out on a deal because you didn't consider or factor all of these things in your calculations. Now, Neo, let's look at 3 case studies whereby how much will they be paying on a monthly basis and also how much transfer cost will be. On this case study, right, we are considering that you're going to be taking out 10% in terms of your deposit. We are considering that you're going to be putting in 50,000 of renovation cost so that you make it more homely. And then we're also looking at you taking out a bond with the bank. Now let's look at a person that purchased the property with 250,000. Now looking at the transfer costs, they are going to be divided into 2. So these numbers were collected via the app, Uber app, right? Where you can actually get how much you can budget when you're looking at buying a property.
And it's more of understanding. It's not necessarily that if it says 26,000, you just have to have that 26,000. For me, I'd rather put a 10% extra just so that if worst case scenario does happen, I know I'm still safe.
100%.
Yeah.
So now looking at transfer costs, right? Both your bond registration and your transfer attorney. When you look at the total, you are looking at spending 58,675. Now putting in that 50,000 that we talked about of renovations, you are looking at spending 108,675 rand.
Sure. So this is the money that I would then need if I would be buying a property that's worth 250,000 so that I'm safe.
That's correct.
Okay. So this is worst case scenario.
This is worst case scenario.
Moving on to property number 2. If we're looking at buying a property that's worth 800,000, right? The transfer cost, of which we are looking at the 2 attorneys, which is your bond attorney and your transfer attorney, we are looking at paying them around 60,187 rands. So then looking at it, if I'm to put down 10% for a property that's worth 800,000, I'll be putting down 80,000 as a deposit. So now if I add that with my reno cost, as we did assume that it was 50,000, I get a whopping 190,147 rands. So this is the amount I would need to buy this property and just make sure that everything is okay.
Oh, 190,000.
Yeah, boy.
That's deep.
Let's go higher.
Let's go higher. Let's look at a property, right? Let's look at a property that is selling for 1,350,000. For a property selling for 1,350,000, just on your transfer cost, you would be spending 93,527. Now, looking at putting in a deposit of 10%, that would be 135,000. Now, adding the 2, you would be sitting at 228,572. Now, let's add the renovation of 50,000. You're now sitting at 278,527. Now, looking at that particular amount, that's close to 300,000.
Yeah.
Now, if you do not have the 300,000, then it becomes a bit of a challenge for you to start now budgeting on this property. Now, remember, we are saying that this is according to the 10% deposit, 50,000 renovations, and how much you'd be paying for your transfer costs. Now, it does happen that you do get 100%, but just to be safe, we want to make sure that we have all of this money before we go into the deal.
While we're on that 3rd case study, right, there was that you can see as we were looking at these numbers that we will be paying transfer duty. So now we know with the South African law that once a property is above 1.1 million, we will then, as buyers, we will be liable to be paying transfer duty. And in this case, the transfer duty fee was 1,544. But I want us to also do another exercise, because what we did there, we looked at it from a baseline, right? That if we be putting 10%, but now I know there's someone who would be like, what if I put in less and what if I put in more? So that's the quick exercise that I'd like us to do. But for this one, we can just use one example, right? So let's just use this one here, the 1.3 million. So if I'll be buying this one for 1.3 and I didn't put a deposit in, so I was like, I'm doing no money. This is for the no money down guys. This is for you guys. So what does this mean, especially if this is an investment? So now I'm looking at a situation whereby if I didn't put in any deposit, right, the bank gave me 100%. For the same property, what will happen is that I will then be paying 14,088 rands. Now, so we looked at it from no money down, and then we also looked at it from 10%, and then I want to put down someone who will be putting down 30% for the 1.3 million house. Let's see how does that affect our numbers. That will actually decrease our monthly installments to 9,699. So basically with the exercise that we did, we can clearly see that there's a direct relationship between my deposit and how much I am paying on a monthly basis. So as much as, yes, you didn't want to put down any money down, you own the property, but let's just say in this case, the rental that we're getting from the tenants is 10,000. Or let's just say that it's 15,000. Yeah, let's use 15. Let's just say that it was 15,000. So ultimately, you can see in terms of how these numbers will then affect the owner.
100%, man. So now that you understand how much you need to be budgeting to buy your property, I think now you're better prepared. Make sure that you do leave a comment down if you've watched so far. Write down pro so that we all know that you have watched this far. And remember, on the 7th of September, we are hosting a property investing workshop. We'll be speaking everything property investing and how you can actually structure or prepare yourself to go into the property market.
Property is a numbers game, and we are here for you. Book a Zoom meeting in the link below. We'll be more than happy to assist you achieve your dream when it comes to property investing.
Invest like a pro
with no wealth. Sure.